1750, the year nobody complained about. Take a deep breath. Settle in. Let's step into the year 1750, a year so quiet, so normal, so unbelievably average that if it were a person, it would probably be that one friend who replies to texts with "okay" and nothing more. It's peaceful. It's plain. It's perfect for falling asleep. Welcome to 1750, the year nobody complained about. A calm morning in 1750. Imagine you're standing in a small village somewhere in Europe. The sun is just waking up, stretching its light across fields that look like they've been copy-pasted from yesterday and the day before. And honestly, probably the next day too. Nothing big is happening. No kings starting wars, no armies marching, no dramatic political twists, no breaking news with fast music in the background. Just birds, just fields, just people minding their own peaceful business. It's not that people didn't want excitement, it's just that 1750 simply wasn't interested in giving any. The world in this time was like a giant sleepy cat. Everything moved slow, gentle, predictable, and surprisingly cute in its simplicity.
Life on the ground, slow and steady. Let's zoom in to the life of an average person living in this year. Your day starts with the sound of absolutely nothing dramatic. Maybe a chicken. Maybe your neighbor sneezing. The point is, no chaos. If you were a farmer, which most people were, your biggest decision of the day was, do I water the crops now? Or do I water them after I finish this bread? If you were a baker, your day was basically, wake up, make bread, sell bread, eat bread, and probably dream about bread. Craftsmen were carving wood. Blacksmiths were hammering metal into useful shapes. Kids were running around pretending sticks were swords, even though there were no battles to fight. It was a simple routine, peaceful, predictable, almost romantic if you ignore the smell. People weren't rushing anywhere. There were no deadlines, no notifications, no phone buzzing with urgent update. Just slow life. A life where time itself seemed to take long naps. The kings were quiet too. Even the rulers of the world were unusually calm. This wasn't the year of dramatic palace drama, evil plots, or kings shouting, "Prepare for battle." Instead, 1750 was more like a king signs a paper, then signs another paper, then maybe goes for a walk, because that was the most thrilling activity available. Diplomacy was calm. Politics was stable. No major kingdoms were throwing tantrums. If you walked into a royal court expecting drama, the guards might just say, "Sir, you are about 10 years early. Please come back when something interesting actually happens." Science and ideas, but like slow motion mode. Science in 1750 was growing, but not rushing. Think of it like a scientist holding a candle,
staring at something and saying, interesting. Not groundbreaking, not world-shaking, just interesting enough. No huge discoveries this year. No wild theories. No eureka moments that changed human history. Just scholars writing books very slowly, with handwriting so neat you'd think they were being paid per letter. It was a vibe. Music and art, peaceful vibes only. While the world outside stayed quiet, inside small music halls, artists were experimenting with calm, relaxing compositions. 1750 is actually known as the year Johann Sebastian Bach completed some of his final works, but even that was done so calmly, so quietly, that people barely noticed at the time. Imagine soft violins, gentle flutes, and orchestras creating the kind of music you would hear while sipping tea on a rainy day. Nothing loud, nothing wild, just tones that gently massage your brain. If Spotify existed, 1750 would be topping the chill lo-fi playlist.
Food. Not exciting, but comforting. People in 1750 weren't chasing Michelin stars. They were chasing calories. Meals were simple. Bread, broth, cheese. Maybe an apple if it was a fancy day. Cooking was slow. Recipes were not complicated. And honestly, everything tasted a little bland, but also comforting in its blandness. This was the era before spicy ramen, before pizza delivery, before midnight snacks. The most dramatic food moment was probably someone dropping their bread into soup and saying, "Oh, no." Anyway. Travel. Slow enough to make you sleep. Travel in 1750 was an adventure, but a quiet one. If someone traveled from one town to another, it took so long that by the time they reached, they forgot why they came. Horses walked slowly. Carriages rattled lazily. Roads were dusty and calm. No airplanes, no cars, just good old-fashioned walking at a pace that could put anyone to sleep. In short, if 1750 had a theme song, it would probably be footsteps. Soft, slow footsteps. Global picture. Nothing exploded. When historians look at 1750, they usually say something like, well, things were pretty normal. No giant eruptions, no super earthquakes, no global disasters. Just a year where Earth also decided to chill. There were some local issues here and there, tiny conflicts, small arguments, the usual stuff, but nothing that made the world go, whoa! If centuries were high school students, 1750 would be the quiet kid who just sits in the back, does his homework, and never causes trouble. And honestly, good for him. Why 1750 is perfect for sleep. The reason 1750 works so well for a sleep story is simple. It's peaceful. It's calm. It's a year with the vibe of a soft blanket. Nothing happens fast. Nothing happens loud. Nothing happens in a way that wakes you up. It's the kind of year that makes your brain say, yeah, I think I'll rest now. Even historians talk about it with a gentle tone, like they're scared of disturbing its nap. And maybe that's the charm. Sometimes in a world full of noise and drama, a truly boring year feels like a hug. As we leave 1750 behind, imagine the sun setting over those endless quiet fields, the sky turning soft orange, the world slowing down even more, as if 1750 itself is saying,
the year before the big things happen. If history were a movie, 1846 would be that calm scene right before the dramatic music starts. You know the part, when two characters are just sipping tea, looking at birds, having no idea that the plot twist is quietly walking toward them. Yep, that's 1846. It wasn't chaotic. It wasn't loud. It was basically a giant loading screen for the future. So relax, lay back. Let's stroll through this soft, peaceful, and very unbothered year. Soft, slow morning in 1846. Imagine waking up in a small town in 1846. The sun rises lazily, like it pressed the snooze button twice. There's a light fog over the fields. The world is calm. People open their wooden windows, stretch a little, and think, another normal day. Good. There's nothing dramatic waiting outside. No sudden wars, no weird political announcements, no surprise dragons. Just a chill day, copy-pasted from yesterday. And honestly, it's perfect. People living their best boring lives. Life in 1846 was simple. If you were a farmer, your day was a slow-motion routine. Watch the crops, fix a fence, feed the animals, maybe talk to your neighbor about the weather. Again. If you were a shopkeeper, open the shop, arrange some items, wait for customers who probably already bought the same things yesterday. If you were a kid, congratulations, your entertainment was mud, sticks, and imagination. Nobody in 1846 was rushing. People walked slowly, worked slowly, thought slowly. Even gossip spread slowly, like someone walking from house to house saying, "Did you hear? Nothing happened. Again." And honestly, it's okay. Politics on vacation mode. The political world in 1846 was surprisingly peaceful. Most countries didn't feel like fighting. Leaders were tired. Everyone wanted a break. Meetings were calm. Agreements were polite. Letters between kingdoms were basically like, "Hey, everything okay? Yes, all good here. Cool, same here." There were no huge revolutions, no giant battles. Just a lot of sitting, planning, thinking, and maybe drinking tea. Even the world powers were like, "Let's just relax this year. We'll do dramatic things later." Future events, big ones, were approaching in the distance. But in 1846, they were still far, far away, like clouds you see but don't worry about. Science and innovation, small steps only. Science in 1846 was growing, but slowly. Scientists were poking around with early ideas, but nothing that changed the world overnight. It wasn't the year of, "Eureka! I discovered something huge!" It was more like, interesting. Maybe I'll work on this next week. People invented small tools, improved small machines, studied plants, stars, rocks, at a very chill pace. There were no explosions in laboratories, no scientist yelling, "I've done it!" Just quiet thinking. Sometimes thinking slowly is the best thinking.
art, music, and culture. Calm, cozy, and very vintage. Imagine walking into a small music hall in 1846. A piano is playing soft notes. A violin hums gently in the background. The crowd? Sitting straight, listening quietly, probably trying not to cough too loud. Music wasn't wild. No rock bands, no heavy drums. Art was peaceful too. Painters made landscapes. People drew still life fruits. Apples that looked too perfect to eat. Writers created slow stories about everyday life, simple emotions, long walks, old cottages. Basically, the aesthetic of warm tea. If Instagram existed in 1846, the entire year would look like a soft vintage filter. Food, warm, simple, and comfortingly bland. Food in 1846 was not spicy, not dramatic, not anything crazy. Just warm bowls of soup, fresh bread, vegetables cooked slowly over a fire, stew that bubbled all day and tasted like peace. People didn't experiment much. No chocolate lava cakes, no cheesy pizza, no giant burgers. But the food had a cozy vibe, the kind that makes you feel like you're wrapping yourself in a blanket. Even desserts were simple. Maybe a small pie, maybe a biscuit. Nothing that would break the internet. If a modern foodie saw 1846 food, they would say, "It's cute." Communication, very slow, very peaceful. There were no smartphones, no apps, no notifications that pop up and make you stressed. If someone wanted to talk to you in 1846, they had two options. 1. Walk to your house. 2. Write a letter that would arrive sometime between 1 week and 1 month later. Imagine the peace. No buzzing, no typing indicator, no scene at 3:02 p.m. Just quiet. The world was basically on airplane mode all the time. Global map, calm before the storm. Here's the interesting part. Even though 1846 itself was peaceful, it sat right before a bunch of huge events. It's like the universe took a deep breath before speaking. Future wars? Still forming. New technologies? Still in the garage. Massive political changes? Still warming up. But in 1846, nobody knew any of that. They were just chilling, living their slow lives, unaware that in a few years, the world would speed up fast. Right now, in this moment, everything was steady, like a quiet lake with no ripples. Why 1846 is a perfect sleep story. Imagine lying in a quiet field in 1846. Soft wind, gentle sunlight, birds singing in the background at a low volume. This year has no sharp edges, no loud moments, nothing that jumps out and shakes you awake. It's basically a natural sleeping pill. A historian would probably write about 1846 like this. Nothing major happened, people lived normal lives, and sometimes normal is beautiful. It gives your mind space to rest. This year is like a slow exhale, soft, long, and calming. 1906, the world hit the snooze button.
Close your eyes for a moment. Imagine the world slowly stretching its arms, yawning softly, and pulling a blanket a little higher. That's 1906. Nothing wild, nothing explosive, just a calm, steady, let's take things easy kind of year. If time itself had a lazy Sunday morning, it would be this year. 1906 didn't try to impress anyone. It didn't show off. It didn't shout for attention. It just existed quietly like a shy kid in a classroom. So settle in. Let's stroll through one of the most gently boring years of the 20th century. A slow morning in 1906. Imagine waking up in 1906.
Art and culture. Vintage, slow and soft. Art in 1906 had a gentle charm. Painters created scenes of nature, calm rivers, people working, and quiet villages. Photography was still fairly new, so photos looked dreamy, slightly blurry, and very peaceful. Perfect bedtime aesthetics. Music? Mostly orchestras, soft pianos, violins, flutes, and gentle rhythms. No bass drops, no loudspeakers, no auto-tune. People went to concerts where everyone sat quietly, clapped politely, and went home early. Books were slow stories, long descriptions, simple characters, like reading a warm cup of tea. There was no hurry in expression, no rush to finish a book or song. Everything breathed slowly. Food. Cozy, simple, and homemade. Food in 1906 was simple. Most people ate what they grew. Meals were warm, slow-cooked, and comforting. Stews bubbling for hours. Fresh bread. Butter made at home. Eggs from the backyard. Vegetables from the garden. Tea boiled quietly on stoves. Desserts were basic, maybe a soft pudding, a fruit pie, or biscuits. No fast food, no heavily processed snacks, no oversized restaurant meals. Meals brought families together. People talked, laughed, shared stories, and then went to bed early. Life itself was a routine, but a cozy one. Nightlife, quiet streets, and early sleep. In 1906, nights weren't exciting. No all-night parties, no city lights glowing through windows, no nightlife industry. Once the sun went down, most towns looked like they were put to sleep. Shops closed early. Streets got dark. People sat by candlelight. And by 9 or 10 p.m., nearly everyone was in bed. Imagine going outside at night in 1906. The silence would hug you. You might hear crickets, maybe an owl, maybe a distant dog barking. That's it. Pure quiet, pure calm, pure sleep energy. It's the kind of year that naturally pushes your brain into shutdown mode. A world before speed. Here's a fun fact. Just a few years later, the world would change fast. Huge inventions, major political events, wars, revolutions, the whole 20th century roller coaster. But in 1906, none of that had happened yet. Humanity was still in its soft, slow phase, like a calm breath before a storm, a silent pause before the world stepped on the accelerator. But for now, peace. 1906 was like the last peaceful chapter before the plot twist arrives. And nobody living then could imagine what was coming next. They were too busy enjoying simple daily routines, warm meals, and early sleep. Why 1999 is perfect for a sleep story. Because everything about this year is soft. Soft routines, soft sounds, soft nights, soft pace. It was a year that didn't try too hard, didn't create drama, didn't push people around. It just let them live, comfortably, quietly, gently. 1906 is the historical equivalent of a warm blanket. And as you listen to its story, it slowly invites your mind to relax, to drift, to slow down, to breathe, just like the year itself. 1999, the year everyone expected drama, but nothing happened. Welcome to 1999, a year that had the whole planet sitting on the edge of its seat for absolutely no reason. Imagine an entire global audience holding popcorn, staring at the calendar, waiting for fireworks, chaos, computers exploding, aliens landing, robots taking over. And then the year politely whispered, "Relax, I'm just here to vibe." 1999 was peaceful, soft, steady, calm, and honestly, kind of cute. Let's sink back into that final quiet year of the 90s. A calm morning in 1999. Imagine waking up in 1999. Your alarm? Probably a small rectangular clock that went beep beep like a polite pigeon. The sun rises slowly. People stretch. The world wakes up without any sense of urgency. No smartphones buzzing. No notifications blowing up your brain. No pressure from social media. Your biggest morning problem was, where did I keep the TV remote? And maybe, will the internet work today, or will it make that loud robot noise and refuse? Life had simple problems, and because of that, it had simple peace. Walking, daily life, smooth, normal, and so 90s. People in 1999 lived a life that was fast for them, but slow for us. Let's see the vibe. Kids running around outside instead of scrolling. Adults going to work wearing big shirts and bigger confidence. People renting movies from shops like it's the most important task ever. Computers turning on like they're warming up for a marathon. Music playing from chunky CD players with that soft click-click. Nobody was rushing. Nobody was stressed by too much information. The internet existed, but it moved slower than a sleepy turtle with back pain. It was a world where you could sit quietly without guilty. News, suspense without action. The funniest part of 1999, everyone was waiting for something to happen. Waiting and waiting and waiting. The entire year felt like holding your breath for a movie twist that never comes. Newspapers were full of Y2K predictions. Computers may go crazy. Banks might crash. Planes may fall from the sky. But in 1999 itself, zero chaos, zero drama, zero explosions. Just humans worrying for no reason, as usual. Imagine a world preparing for a huge storm, and all they got was a light breeze. Perfect sleep story energetic. Technology, cute, chunky, and confused. Ah yes, technology in 1999. A vibe. Computers were big, slow, and made sounds like dial-up demons trying to sing. Internet, a hit or miss situation. You click something, go make a sandwich, come back, maybe it's loaded, maybe not. Phones were small bricks. No touch screens, no apps. Just simple buttons that clicked. If you wanted to send a message, you had to press each number key multiple times. Typing high felt like a full workout. Technology was trying its best, but at a slow, sweet pace. Nothing world-changing happened. No new device that shocked the world. Just gradual upgrades that made people say, "Wow, the screen is slightly bigger." That was enough excitement. Music, peak vibes without chaos. 1999 had great music, movies, and culture, but none of it was stressful. People listened to catchy songs on radios or CD players. Music videos had dramatic camera angles, but peaceful energy. Movies were fun, colorful, and full of simple 90s charm. There was no streaming, no binge-watching at 2 a.m., nothing that hijacked your brain. If you wanted to watch a movie, you physically went to rent it. You'd stand in a video store, staring at rows of DVDs, thinking, "This cover looks nice, let's hope the movie is also nice." Entertainment required patience, and patience creates peace. Even cartoons were slow, cozy, and harmless. No hyper-editing, no fast cuts. Just gentle stories with soft music. Perfect bedtime energy. Food, more comfort than chaos. Food in 1999 wasn't wild. It was comforting. Instant noodles, hot tea, simple home-cooked dinners. Snacks that made you smile. Biscuits that everyone kept in metal boxes. Families ate together, talked together, argued over silly things like who finished the last slice of cake. Restaurants weren't trying to be viral. Food wasn't dramatic. It was just food. Warm, safe, predictable. Like the whole year. Outdoor life, soft and social. People actually went outside in 1999. Yes, outside, like real outside. Kids played cricket, football, hide and seek. Teenagers hung out at parks or streets, talking and laughing. Adults took walks, sat under trees, visited friends without calling first. There was no GPS, no Google Maps. People found places using something called asking someone. Nature felt bigger. Time felt slower. Days felt longer. Phones had small pads, but no stress from social media. This was before the world became fast-paced and loud. 1999 was the last peaceful breath before everything got digital and chaotic. Calendar. The world was waiting, but why? 1999's biggest drama wasn't real. It was psychological. Everyone was scared of Y2K, the idea that computers might freak out when the year changed to 2000. People said, "You won't have electricity, planes will stop, banks will lose all your money, robots will rise." But guess what? None of that happened. The fear was bigger than reality. And the year 1999, it stayed calm, stayed normal, stayed delightfully uneventful. It was literally the world's longest false alarm. Perfect sleep storytelling material. Why 1999 is a perfect sleep year. Because it had 1. A calm pace. 2. No global disasters. 3. No massive wars. 4. No economic collapses. 5. No major inventions. 6. Lots of waiting, but nothing happening. 1999 was a soft bubble of peace between two noisy centuries. It felt like time paused and said, let's give humanity one last quiet year. And that's why listening to 1999 feels like slowly laying down on a soft pillow. It's comfort, it's nostalgia, it's a warm hug from history. 1374. Medieval chill time. Close your eyes for a moment. Imagine stone houses, misty mornings, and soft horse footsteps on old dirt roads. Welcome to 1374, a year that didn't try to impress anyone, a year that didn't rush, a year so calm that even historians look at it and go, oh, that's nice. No big wars, no famous events, no dragons, sad, I know. Just people living slow medieval lives. Let's walk through it gently, like we're strolling past a quiet village at sunrise. 1. Rising sunrise in 374. The day begins quietly, very quietly. The sun rises behind hills, sending a warm glow across wooden cottages. Chimneys breathe out small clouds of smoke as families start morning fires. There are no alarm clocks, no ringing phones, no good morning notifications. Just roosters, and maybe a goat. People stretch, yawn, and think, well, time to do the same thing I did yesterday. No excitement, but no stress either. Life moves at the pace of nature, slow, steady, calm. 2. Village life, simple, slow, and predictable. Most people in 374 lived in small villages where everyone knew everyone. If you walked around, you'd see farmers carrying tools, women grinding grain on heavy stones, kids chasing chickens, bad idea, but they still tried, shepherds guiding sheep that walked like fluffy clouds, dogs peacefully sleeping in random corners. Everyone's day followed the same gentle rhythm. In the morning, work. In the afternoon, more work. In the evening, talk, laugh, eat, and sleep. Nothing extreme, nothing dramatic, just daily life that repeated like a comforting lullaby. People didn't worry about productivity. They didn't track steps. They didn't set goals. Their biggest goal was keep living, keep smiling, keep the chickens inside the fence. 3. Farming, nature's slow dance. Farming was the heart of life. People woke up with the sun and worked with calm patience. Pull a weed, plant a seed, cut some grass, feed a cow, check the sky, pray for rain, pray for no rain, water the crops, repeat. There was a peaceful rhythm to it. The land was everything: food, money, life. And in 374, the land behaved nicely. No huge floods, giant storms, just normal weather that made farmers sigh with relief. A slow year for nature, a slow year for people. Perfect for drifting into sleep. 4. Travel, slow horses and slow roads. If someone had to travel in 374, it was an adventure, but a very slow one. Roads were bumpy dirt paths, horses were the main vehicles, but they also had chill attitudes. You could sit on a horse, look around, think about life, hum a tune, and still be nowhere near your destination. Travelers moved from village to village, stopping at inns that smelt like wood, soup, and old stories. No rush, no stress, just long, peaceful journeys through forests and fields. If Google Maps existed, it would probably say, "Continue straight for 3 days." 5 castles, big, quiet, and surprisingly boring. You might think medieval castles were full of drama, swords, knights, battles. But in 374? Nope. This was one of those years where the castle felt like a giant stone hotel with no loud guests. Kings and nobles sat in large halls, writing letters, signing papers, and eating bread that could break teeth. Knights practiced calmly, guards stood around looking important but feeling sleepy. The biggest excitement inside the castle might be, someone brought extra cheese today. Even royalty was taking things slow. 6 medieval scholars, reading, writing, and very quiet thinking. While most people worked on farms, a few lucky folks worked with books. Monks in monasteries sat in long rooms with tiny windows, copying texts by hand, slowly, carefully, quietly. Every letter was drawn with full concentration. No copy-paste, no typing speed, just ink, quills, and patience. Their rooms were so quiet you could probably hear your own thoughts echoing. Scholars studied plants, stars, animals, and old writings, not to discover something dramatic, but just to understand life a little better. In 374, there were no giant scientific breakthroughs, just peaceful learning. 7 music, soft, gentle, and very sleepy. Music back then wasn't loud or intense. People played simple instruments. Flutes, harps, small drums, simple string instruments. Songs were slow, melodies were calm, lyrics were often about nature, love, seasons, and prayers. Imagine a soft tune floating across a village evening, perfect to help you drift off. Music wasn't entertainment, it was comfort, something to relax the mind after a long day. In 374, even the music had sleepy energy. 8 food, warm, plain, and cozy. Medieval food wasn't spicy or complicated. Most meals looked like this: a bowl of warm porridge, a piece of bread, some vegetables, maybe a bit of meat on special days, fresh water or simple ale. Families ate together around small wooden tables. Dinner time was quiet and cozy, soft conversations, laughter, and maybe a candle flickering in the middle. Nothing fancy, nothing stressful, just warm food that made life feel safe and steady. 8 evening, the calmest part of the day. When the sun went down in 374, the world slowed even more. Streets grew silent, homes glowed softly with candlelight. People talked to each other, chatted softly, and books were read quietly. Kids fell asleep early, adults sat beside the fire, mending clothes or chatting softly. Then, one by one, everyone went to bed on straw mattresses wrapped in blankets made from wool. No lights, no noise, no distractions. The night belonged to peace. Imagine a village where, after dark, even the wind seems to whisper softly. That was 374, a year built to help you sleep. 1 world, balanced, quiet, peaceful. This year didn't see big empires rise or fall, no massive battles, no shocking discoveries. Just humans living with nature, following the seasons, trusting the earth, and helping each other. Historians sometimes skip this year because nothing important happened. But that's what makes it so perfect for us. Because sometimes nothing is the best story. 1374 wasn't trying to be remembered. It was just quietly being itself. And in its quietness, there is beauty. Why 1374 is a perfect sleep year. Because it has calm pace, no big drama, no global issues, gentle nature, slow work, cozy homes, quiet nights. This year is basically a medieval version of a warm, heavy blanket. It slows your mind, softens your thoughts, gives your brain room to relax. Every scene from 1374 feels like a slow, deep breath. 603 AD, the year you probably never heard of. Approximately 1,300 to 1,400 words. If years were characters in a story, some would be heroes, some would be villains, and then there would be 603 AD, the quiet extra in the background who just stands there politely, causing zero trouble. 603 AD didn't demand attention. It didn't shake the world. It didn't try to be famous. It simply existed like a soft breeze passing through history, which makes it perfect for a bedtime story. So relax, let your shoulders drop, take a slow breath, and let's walk into the gentle, almost sleepy world of 603 AD. 1 slow, peaceful sunrise.
183. The calm after the big discoveries. 183 sits quietly in history like a tired friend who says, "Bas yaar, thoda rest chahiye." It came right after years filled with loud inventions, steam engines, factories, electricity, science breakthroughs, all those exciting things that changed the world. But 1883 itself? It simply chose peace. No giant discoveries, no shocking revolutions, no chaos on the streets. Just a soft, steady year where everyone caught their breath. Let's step into it slowly, like dipping toes into warm water. Joy of the sun. A quiet morning in 1883. The sun rises over cities that are half old and half new. Brick buildings, horse carts, freshly installed street lamps, a few electric wires humming softly like shy little snakes above the streets. The morning feels gentle. People wake up without stress. Windows open. Cool air enters homes. Someone stirs tea in the kitchen. Someone else ties their shoes and gets ready for another calm workday. No loud alarms, no buzzing phones, just a soft whistle of wind between the buildings. The world feels relaxed, like it finally got a chance to breathe. Daily life, a soft blend of old and new. Life in 1883 sits at a beautiful crossroads. Half the world still works like the old days. Simple tools, slow routines, predictable tasks. The other half is slowly touching the future. Trains, electricity, machines. But even with these new inventions, the pace remains slow. Tailors stitch clothes by hand, humming softly. Blacksmiths hammer metal with quiet rhythm. Factory workers move steadily without the rush we see today. Children run around streets with wooden toys. Vendors push carts filled with bread, fruits, and warm pastries. Everything moves at a human pace, not a machine pace. 1883 is modern enough to be interesting, but old enough to stay peaceful. Technology, growing but not running. The Industrial Revolution had already happened, but the explosion of technology calmed down a bit. 1883 feels like the world upgraded and then paused. Train stations see slow, steady travel. Engines puff little clouds of smoke like sleepy giant cats. Passengers sit quietly, reading newspapers. The world moves forward, but gently. Electricity is spreading, but not everywhere. Most homes still use candles or oil lamps. Some proud houses have new electric bulbs that glow like soft stars. Telegraphs click messages slowly, tiny taps sending thoughts across cities. Everything is growing, but nothing is rushing. 1883 moves with grace. Cities, busy but not overwhelming. Cities in 1883 feel alive but not overpowering. Streets are filled with horse-drawn carriages, gentle chatter, small shops, fresh markets, street musicians calling headlines in soft voices. Buildings are tall but charming. Smoke rises slowly from chimneys. People walk without hurrying, enjoying the weather, the street smells, and the morning light. No neon signs, no traffic lights, no honking cars. Just simple movement. Even the busiest cities feel like a warm, cozy dream compared to today's chaos. Countryside, calm as always. While cities test new inventions, the countryside in 1883 stays as peaceful as ever. Farmers wake early, animals graze lazily, fields of wheat wave softly in the wind. A dog stretches outside a barn. A woman carries a basket of apples down a quiet path. Nature doesn't care about technology. Nature's rhythm stays slow. Birds sing, rivers flow, trees sway. 1883's countryside is a giant sigh of relief, a calm escape from everything else. Music, soft, classic, and comforting. Music in 1883 carries a classical softness. People play violins, pianos, orchestras, trumpets, and waltz tunes. Sound floats slowly through music halls. Concerts are peaceful gatherings. Even street musicians play gentle songs on flutes and fiddles. No loud beats, no electronic music, no high-speed rhythms. Just comforting melodies that wrap around your mind like a cozy blanket. Music in 1883 almost feels like it was created to help you sleep. Books and ideas. Growing quietly. This year wasn't about huge discoveries. It was about ideas growing slowly. Writers published calm stories. Poets wrote about love, rain, childhood, seasons. Libraries grew one book at a time. Students studied quietly in wooden classrooms lit by morning sun. Teachers wrote on chalkboards with slow strokes. No projectors, no laptops, just paper, ink, and peaceful minds. People weren't rushing to learn everything at once. They were absorbing ideas like sipping warm tea. 1883 was gentle to the brain. Food, warm, simple, and comforting. Food in 1883 had a nostalgic smell. Homes cooked meals slowly. Fresh bread, hot soups, roasted vegetables, stews cooked for hours, homemade jams, warm tea or cocoa. Families gathered around wooden tables. No TV, no screens, just conversations and soft clinking of spoons. Restaurants were cozy and calm. Meals were served slowly, with respect for the process. Even desserts were simple. Pies, pastries, puddings, nothing too fancy. Food tasted like home. News, interesting but not stressful. Newspapers in 1883 reported small political events, new machines invented, trade news, local gossip, weather, culture and arts. No 24/7 news cycles, no panic headlines, no breaking news every 2 minutes. People read the paper in peace, maybe while drinking tea. It didn't raise blood pressure, it soothed it. Even when something important happened, it arrived quietly on the page. History whispered in 1883. It never shouted. Mornings, gentle light and soft silence. As the sun sets, cities transform. Gas lamps glow softly along streets. Shops close slowly. Children run home. Horses trot back to stables. People walk with lanterns in hand. Homes light candles. Shadows dance on walls. A violin plays from someone's window. A family shares stories before bed. The night air is cool. Sky is dotted with stars. Silence spreads like a warm blanket. 1883 nights were perfect for thinking, resting, dreaming. No electricity buzzing, no traffic noises, no city roar. Just the soft hum of the world winding down. Global mood. Calm, balanced, peaceful. 1883 wasn't about major empires rising or falling. It wasn't about huge scientific leaps. It wasn't about wars or disasters. It was a quiet middle chapter, a pause, a breath, a resting place. The world just lived. People laughed, people worked, people traveled slowly, people slept early. There is something beautiful in the normalcy of 1883. Nothing tries too hard, nothing moves too fast, everything flows gently. Why 1883 helps you sleep? Because it has calm technology, soft music, peaceful streets, simple routines, slow nights, gentle society, minimal drama. 1883 feels like a warm cup of milk before bedtime. It slows your thoughts, softens your breathing, makes your mind settle into a cozy rhythm. Even imagining this year feels like lying on a soft pillow. 1605, the nothing to see here year. Approximately 1,300 to 1,400 words. Some years arrive in history like fireworks, loud, dramatic, impossible to ignore. 1605 is not one of those years. 1605 walks in quietly, sits in the corner, sips warm tea, and stays out of everyone's way. It doesn't want drama, it doesn't want attention, it just wants peace. And because of that, it's one of the most soothing years to fall asleep to. So, let's step into 1605 together, slowly, like we're walking into a library where even the books are napping. A soft, gentle morning. The day begins with a pale golden sunrise slipping across forests, fields, and rooftops. Homes are small.
Even imagining this year feels like lying on a soft pillow. 1605, the nothing to see here year. Some years arrive in history like fireworks, loud, dramatic, impossible to ignore. 1605 is not one of those years. 1605 walks in quietly, sits in the corner, sips warm tea, and stays out of everyone's way. It doesn't want drama. It doesn't want attention. It just wants peace. And because of that, it's one of the most soothing years to fall asleep to. So, let's step into 1605 together, slowly, like we're walking into a library where even the books are napping. A soft, gentle morning. The day begins with a pale golden sunrise slipping across forests, fields, and rooftops. Homes are small and simple, made of wood, stone, or old bricks. Smoke rises from kitchen fires as families begin their day. People yawn lazily. Children stretch like sleepy kittens. Adults warm their hands near the stove. There's no rush, no deadlines, no morning chaos. It's just another peaceful day in 1605, and that's exactly what people loved. So, let's step into 1605 together, slowly, like we're walking into a library where even the books are napping. A soft, gentle morning. The day begins with a pale golden sunrise slipping across forests, fields, and rooftops. Homes are small and simple, made of wood, stone, or old bricks. Smoke rises from kitchen fires as families begin their day. People yawn lazily. Children stretch like sleepy kittens. Adults warm their hands near the stove. There's no rush, no deadlines, no morning chaos. It's just another peaceful day in 1605, and that's exactly what people loved. So, let's step into 1605 together, slowly, like we're walking into a library where even the books are napping. Pocket, daily life, calm, predictable, and comforting. Life in 1605 moves like a slow river, steady, smooth, and quiet. If you walked through a village, you'd see farmers feeding animals, women hanging clothes under sunlight, tailors sewing slowly, shepherds guiding sheep across soft hills, kids playing with sticks, pebbles, or imaginary dragons, dogs napping with do not disturb energy. Nothing dramatic, nothing urgent, just simple people living simple lives. It wasn't exciting, but it was peaceful. And in a world full of noise, peaceful is precious. Farming, gentle work under an easy sky. Most people in 1605 worked on farms. They planted seeds, dug soil, watered crops, and collected vegetables, all at nature's pace. No tractors, no machines, no fast tools. Just simple hands, simple tools, and simple patience. Birds sang in the background. Wind brushed through the fields. The earth smelled warm and fresh. On good days, farmers would smile and say, "Ye din shanti wellahay," and they meant it. Travel, slow feet, slow roads. Travel in 1605 wasn't fast at all. If you wanted to visit another town, you probably walked. If you were lucky, you had a horse. But even horses in 1605 walked like they were doing a peaceful morning stroll. Roads were simple dirt paths. Travelers carried water, bread, and maybe a tiny coin bag. Journeys took time, hours or days, but nobody complained. People enjoyed the view. Bosch, forests. Trells, narrow roads. Nugs, rivers. Ends, hills. Birds, gentles, and long fields. It was travel for the soul, not for speed. Castles, quiet halls, and calm rulers. Castles in 1605 weren't full of shouting kings or dramatic sword fights. Most rulers were busy with paperwork, taxes, and drinking warm wine. Meetings were slow and polite, like, "King, any big issues today?" No." "Great, let's have lunch." Guards stood at gates looking serious, but secretly bored. Knights trained in fields, but didn't have many battles to fight. Castle life was routine, and routine is beautiful for bedtime stories. Imagine long hallways, soft light, quiet footsteps, just peaceful royalty living peaceful lives. Culture, Shakespeare writing quietly. Yes, really. 1605 is a special year for one reason, but even that reason is quiet and gentle. This was the time when William Shakespeare was writing some of his famous plays. Imagine him sitting near a window with a quill in hand, scribbling lines slowly, pausing often to stare outside, thinking, what rhymes with king? There were no loud theaters, no movie trailers, no dramatic promotions. Just simple performances in open-air theaters where audiences sat back, relaxed, and enjoyed slow storytelling. 1605 allowed art to breathe. It allowed ideas to grow gently. Music, calm sounds in wooden rooms. Music in 1605 wasn't for dancing wildly. It was for relaxing. People played small flutes, viols, early violins, gentle drums, lutes like soft guitars. Melodies drifted through homes like soft wind. At night, musicians played in taverns where people sipped warm drinks and listened quietly. No loud beats, no heavy music, just soft notes that felt like they were massaging your mind. Perfect for sleep. Food, warm, plain, and homely. Meals in 1605 were simple comforts, not experiments. Most dinners included fresh loaves of bread, bowls of stew, cooked vegetables, maybe some roasted meat, warm ale or water. Families gathered around wooden tables, shared food, told stories, and laughed softly. Everything was slow: cooking, eating, talking. Food wasn't rushed. Food wasn't fancy. Food was just food, warm and calming. When the sun went down, the world of 1605 became even softer. Streets grew silent. Homes lit candles or oil lamps. Shadows danced on walls. Families sat by fireplaces, warming their hands. Storytelling was the main entertainment. Children listened with wide eyes. Adults smiled quietly. Outside, the night air was cool. The sky was full of stars, bright, clear, peaceful. No cars, no street lights, no screens. Just nature, darkness, and gentle silence. It's impossible not to feel sleepy imagining it. Global picture. Calm and balanced. 1605 was not a year of global disasters. No huge invasions, no massive earthquakes, no shocking discoveries, no world-changing events. Kingdoms were stable. People followed their routines. Nature behaved normally. If history were a song, 1605 would be the quiet instrumental part, the soft pause before louder moments. And sometimes that pause is the most relaxing thing in the world. Why 1605 helps you sleep? Because everything about this year is soft. Calm villagers, soft music, slow travel, peaceful farms, boring but safe politics, cozy homes, fire-lit nights. 1605 feels like someone wrapped the world in a warm wool blanket. It invites your mind to slow down, to drift, to breathe gently. Even imagining it makes your eyelids feel heavier. 1954, the soft middle of the 20th century. If the 20th century was a long movie full of twists, action, chaos, and explosions, then 1954 was that quiet scene where the music slows down, everyone takes a breath, and the world just relaxes. No huge wars, no massive shocks, no global panic. Just a calm, steady, quietly healing year. A year that felt like the world had finally sat down with a cup of warm tea. So settle in, breathe out, and let's step into the peaceful arms of 1954. A calm morning in 1954. The day in 1954 begins soft. Sunlight slips through curtains with gentle confidence. Birds sing in suburban trees. A milkman rattles glass bottles softly outside homes. A radio plays an easy tune in the background. People stretch slowly, rub their eyes, and walk into their kitchens for breakfast. Kids eat cereal while swinging their legs. Parents sip tea or coffee quietly, reading newspapers with relaxed shoulders. The air feels peaceful. Time feels slower than today. Life feels kinder. 1654 starts each day like the world is sighing softly. Okay, let's take things easy. Daily life, a soft routine. Life in 1954 was simple in the most comforting way. People woke up, did their work, and came home, but without the race against time feeling we have today. If you walked down a neighborhood street, you'd see kids cycling slowly, neighbors watering plants, families hanging clothes outside, dogs wandering around calmly, people chatting over fences. Everyone moved in a soft rhythm. Shops opened calmly, buses moved without rush, teachers taught patiently, workers took regular breaks. Nobody was chasing likes, followers, or notifications. Nobody was doom scrolling. Nobody was checking their phone 200 times a day. Most people didn't even have a phone. Life had space. Life had air. Life had peace. Radio, entertainment, cozy, calm, and family-friendly. 1654 was full of warm, gentle entertainment. Families gathered around radios or TV sets. Yes, TVs existed, but they were tiny and adorable. To listen to micro-podcasts, soft music, television shows, harmless comedies. Shows had slow pacing. Music had warm melodies. Movies had soft colors and relaxed storytelling. No explosions, no jump cuts, no loud beats. Just simple stories that made people smile. Even going to the cinema felt peaceful. Crowds were quiet, seats were soft, and the popcorn smelled comforting. Food, home-cooked warmth. Breakfast, bread, eggs, cereal, warm drinks. Lunch, sandwiches, soups, apple. Dinner, casseroles, potatoes, vegetables, roasted meat on good days. Dessert, simple cakes, cookies, pies. Families ate together at the table every night. Conversations were slow, gentle, and full of laughter. Dinner wasn't rushed. Dinner wasn't a chore. Dinner was bonding. Travel, calm roads, calm people. Traveling in 1954 felt almost relaxing. Cars moved slowly. Roads were wide and peaceful with fewer vehicles. People took long scenic routes just to enjoy the view. Road trips meant windows down, warm breeze, music from the radio, soft conversations, no traffic stress. Trains were common and moved with a steady rhythm, that lovable clack, 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 clack sound that could put anyone to sleep. Air travel existed, but was rare and extremely calm. Cabins were quiet. Passengers behaved. Stewardesses spoke softly. Travel didn't feel like running. It felt like floating. Work life, no rush, no overload. 16 offices had typewriters making gentle clacking sounds, paper files neatly arranged, calm bosses, fixed work hours, no after-work emails. Thank God. When the clock hit the end of the workday, people went home and forgot about work completely. No overtime pressure, no urgent by tonight, no messaging apps exploding at 10 p.m. People had hobbies, people had free time, people rested. It was a year where the balance between work and life actually existed. Music, smooth, classic, and sleep-inducing. Music in 1954 was warm and velvety. People listened to jazz, soft orchestras, crooners with gentle voices, slow, dreamy tunes. Perfect for drifting into dreams. The world. Healing. Settling. Breathing. 1954 came after big global events, wars, struggles, changes. But this year, it was quiet. Countries were rebuilding steadily. People were finding normal life again. Families were growing. Cities were expanding peacefully. There were improvements in science and medicine, but nothing too shocking, just steady progress. It was a soft pause between two exciting decades. A peaceful breath inside a noisy century. Moon, evenings, cozy homes and early nights. When the sun set in 1954, everything got even softer. Streetlights glowed warmly. Shops closed early. Families gathered in living rooms. Some played board games. Some listened to radio shows. Some watched TV together. Some simply talked while knitting or reading. Lights were warm yellow, not bright and harsh like today. Fans spun slowly overhead. Curtains moved gently with night breeze. By 9 or 10 p.m., most homes were dark. People slept early, deeply, peacefully, with no screen glow, no buzzing devices, no distractions. It was a time when night truly felt like night. Quiet, restful, safe. Why 1954 helps you sleep? Because the whole year feels like a warm blanket, a gentle melody, a soft pillow, a slow heartbeat, a deep sigh of relief, a calm evening walk. There is no rush in 1954, no stress, no loudness, just smooth, steady living. Imagining this year is like slowly lowering yourself into a fluffy bed. You can almost hear the soft radio music, the distant chirping of night insects, the calm hum of a quiet neighborhood. 1954 is a lullaby disguised as a year. 125/7, a whisper in medieval time. Some years in history shout, some years sing, some years fight. But 125/7? 125/7 doesn't do any of that. It just sits peacefully in the middle of the 13th century, minding its own business, like a shy villager picking flowers on a slow afternoon. Nothing dramatic, nothing loud, nothing trying to grab attention. It's the kind of year that gently pats your shoulder and says, "Relax, stay a while." So settle in, take a deep breath, let your mind soften. We're stepping into a year that feels like a warm medieval lullaby. A soft, misty medieval morning. Morning in 1257 arrives slowly, almost shyly. The sun rises behind rolling hills, spreading light across quiet stone cottages. A thin layer of mist floats over fields. Farm animals stretch, yawn, and make sleepy noises. People wake without alarms, no phones, no pressure, just nature's gentle rhythm. A mother stirs a pot by the fire. A father pulls on boots. Children rub their eyes and open wooden shutters to breathe in the cool morning air. Life doesn't hurry in 1257. It just flows. House, daily life, simple, soft, and predictable. Life in 1257 is like a soft routine that repeats in the most comforting way. If you walk through a village, you'll see shepherds guiding sheep through dew-covered fields, women carrying baskets of grain or herbs, carpenters shaping wood with rhythmic taps, boys playing with sticks, chasing chickens, or pretending to be knights, dogs sleeping wherever they feel like, neighbors greeting each other with warm smiles. Everything feels grounded. Everything feels human. Everything feels slow. People didn't race through their days. There was no hurry to become successful. Success was simply surviving, smiling, and sharing. The routine wasn't boring. It was peaceful. Farming, the gentle heart of 125. Farming in 1257 wasn't just work. It was the center of life, culture, stories, and community. Farmers moved calmly through the fields, planting seeds, tossing grain, watching clouds for weather, feeding animals, collecting vegetables in woven baskets. The land obeys the seasons, and the people obey the land. No machines, no engines, just the sound of wind sliding through crops. 125 was a good farming year. No major droughts or storms to break the rhythm. It was the kind of year farmers looked back on and said, wo sal achata. And when farmers are happy, the whole village is happy. Travel. Slow feet on soft earth. If someone in 1257 wanted to travel, they had two main options. Walk slightly faster. Horses existed, but they were shared, expensive, and often used for work, not luxury. Roads were calm dirt paths, shaded by trees and lined with wildflowers. Travelers moved slowly, carrying a small pouch, a piece of bread, maybe a wooden cup, and sometimes a simple walking stick. They greeted strangers kindly. They stopped by tiny inns with warm soup and straw beds. They passed streams, forests, and old stone bridges. No traffic, no noise, no rushing. Travel in 1257 wasn't about reaching fast. It was about enjoying the world along the way. Castles, quiet halls, and gentle kings. Castles in 1257 weren't always glamorous war zones. This particular year was surprisingly peaceful. Kings held councils that were calm, predictable, and honestly a bit boring. A typical royal conversation. Any threats today? No, my lord. Any rebellions? No. Wonderful. Bring the bread. Knights polished armor slowly. Guards paced gently in the courtyards. Servants lit torches, swept floors, and hummed soft little songs. Even the castle dogs walked around lazily, enjoying leftover meat scraps. Royal life in 1257 wasn't dramatic. It was steady, structured, and surprisingly cozy. Knowledge. Slow minds, deep wisdom. Books were rare treasures in 1257, handwritten and stored carefully in monasteries or wealthy homes. Monks sat in tall stone rooms, copying texts with slow, careful strokes. Silence filled the air, except for scratching quills, soft page turns, wind echoing through the halls. Students learned by listening, watching, practicing, repeating. Lessons were simple. Herbs, healing, stars, farming, prayers, simple math, trade skills. Learning wasn't rushed. Knowledge grew slowly, like a tree taking its time. And in that slowness, there was peace. Music, soft notes under candlelight. The music of 1257 was gentle, the kind of music that feels like a warm hand placed softly on your shoulder. People played flutes, small drums, harps, lutes, and early primitive violins. Melodies were simple, easy to hum, easy to remember. During evenings, villagers gathered around fires while someone played a soft tune. Children listened with half-closed eyes. Adults nodded slowly to the rhythm. Even the animals seemed calmer. Music was not entertainment. Music was comfort, connection, and rest. Food, warm, plain, and heart-filling. Food in 1257 wasn't fancy, but it was honest. Meals tasted like the earth, the fire, and the hands that prepared them. Typical foods were barley porridge, thick bread, cooked root vegetables, stews made with herbs, onions and garlic, milk or goat cheese. On special days, roasted chicken, apples, honey. Families sat together on benches or rugs, bowls in hand, sharing simple stories. You could hear spoons tapping bowls, fire crackling, soft laughter. There was no rush, just warm food and warm hearts. Moonlight, evenings, firelight, stories, and silence. Evening in 1257 was the most magical time of the day. As the sun dipped below the mountains, the world turned golden orange and then deep blue. Villagers lit torches and candles. Smoke curled up gently into the sky. Homes glowed from the inside like quiet lanterns. Inside the cottages, fires roared softly. Families whispered or laughed quietly. Elders told old legends of heroes and forests. Cats curled up to sleep. Children drifted off slowly. Outside, the night was silent but alive. Stars shining bright. Birds calling. Wind brushing through trees. Moonlight bathing rooftops. The world felt held, safe, and wonderfully slow. World in 1257, a deep breath between eras. 1257 wasn't a famous year. Nothing big happened. No huge empires rose or fell. No breathtaking discoveries were made. It was just steady. A year where the world seemed to inhale, hold the breath gently, and smile. Sometimes history needs a quiet chapter. Sometimes people need rest. Sometimes nature needs space to breathe. 1257 was that space, a peaceful pause inside the medieval timeline. Why 1257 helps you sleep? Because this year is like a soft blanket, a warm bowl of soup, a flute playing in firelight, a slow walk through fields, a quiet night with stars, a candle glowing beside a bed. Everything about 1257 invites rest. The slow work, the quiet roads, the steady rhythm, the cozy nights, the gentle people. Your mind calms just imagining it. 1801, when even Napoleon took a breather. Approximately 1,300 to 1,500 words. Some years in history behave like storms. Others behave like fireworks. And then there's 1801, a year that behaved like a person who said, "Bhai, mujhe thoda rest chahiye." It exists right in the heart of the Napoleonic era, yet oddly enough, the year itself is peaceful, quiet, low drama, almost sleepy. A rare pause button in a century full of big events. So settle back, breathe slowly. Let's drift into 1801, a year that moved gently, like a soft breeze brushing over old European streets. A calm morning in 1801. Imagine waking up in a small town at the start of the 19th century. The sky is cool blue. Chimneys send out little trails of smoke. Street cats stretch lazily. Horses tap their hooves gently against cobblestone roads. No engines, no cars, no ringing phones. Just the peaceful sounds of footsteps, wooden wheels, distant birds, someone sweeping outside their door. Breakfast is simple. Warm bread, butter, maybe some tea. The day begins slow, without any rush or tension. You open the window, feel the cold morning air, and think, Aaj ka din shant lag raha hai. And you're right. Life, a comfortable, predictable rhythm. People in 1801 moved through life with a soft rhythm. Shops opened slowly. Workers carried baskets or tools. Children played with wooden toys in the street. Mothers hung laundry in the morning sun. Neighbors greeted each other warmly. Nothing dramatic, nothing fast. Life wasn't about deadlines. It wasn't about notifications. It wasn't about hustle culture. People lived through slow mornings, steady days, quiet nights. A simple, peaceful pattern. Even in big cities, there was space to breathe. Work, slow hands, focused minds. Work in 1801 wasn't rushed, mostly because it couldn't be rushed. Tailors stitched clothes by hand, their needles moving in calm, patient motions. Bakers rolled dough at dawn, filling streets with warm smells that felt like hugs. Blacksmiths hammered slowly, sparks flying in gentle bursts. Writers scribbled poems and letters using feather quills, stopping often to think or sip tea. Nothing felt urgent. People worked with care. They took pride in the things they made. And the world moved at human speed, not machine speed. Travel, soft journeys on old roads. Travel in 1801 had its own peaceful charm. There were long walks, horse rides, wooden carts, fountains, and roadside inns. The roads were lined with trees and hills, not billboards and traffic lights. Journeys took hours, sometimes days, but nobody seemed bothered. A traveler might leave home at sunrise and reach the next town by sunset, tired, dusty, but peaceful. In small inns, travelers warmed their hands by the fire, listening to quiet conversations, drinking warm soup. Travel wasn't fast, but it was calm, and sometimes calm is better. Napoleon, surprisingly calm this year. You might expect 1801 to be chaotic because Napoleon was alive and active. But even Napoleon, the usually energetic war strategist, was taking things slow. Instead of fighting, he spent this year peace-signing treaties, reorganizing systems, improving administration, negotiating with other countries. Basically, doing paperwork. Even the world's most energetic leader decided, "Chilo todo rest lete hai," which helped the entire continent breathe a little easier. No major battles, no massive drama, just political tinkering and quiet rebuilding. A surprisingly chill year for Europe. Music, soft classical sounds everywhere. 1801 sits right inside the golden age of classical music. Imagine walking through a city and hearing piano gently, violins warming up, orchestras practicing slow melodies. Composers like Beethoven were around, creating works with deep emotion, sometimes intense, but often beautifully slow and calming. Evenings were filled with music halls where people sat in candlelight, listening to peaceful symphonies. Music wasn't background noise. Music was an experience, something to sit with, breathe with, and dream with. Soft, warm, timeless, perfect for drifting into sleep. Food, warm meals in cozy kitchens. Homes in 1801 didn't have fancy appliances. Everything was cooked slowly over fire or coal. Typical meals included soups simmering for hours, bread, boiled vegetables, roasted meat on special days, tea or mild coffee. Families ate together, sitting at wooden tables, talking softly about the day. What's beautiful is how unhurried dining was. People didn't eat while working. They didn't rush to finish. Meals were meant for connection. Every bite tasted like effort, time, and patience. Moonlight. Evenings, dim lamps, and deep peace. Evening in 1801 had an unmistakable calm. As soon as the sun dipped, homes lit candles and oil lamps. The warm golden glow made rooms look dreamy and quiet. People spent evenings reading, writing letters, listening to music, knitting, talking softly, fire sitting by the fireplace. Children fell asleep early. Adults followed soon after. The world outside was silent. Moonlight on rooftops, cool breeze, birds calling, candles fading. No cars, no sirens, no TV noise. Just nature, night, and deep peace.